All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to hang out with us, learn about AI and Xeon 5th gen processors. We got a ton of information for you, so sit back, relax. Again, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I'm Mitch Flickinger, the Intel Technical Server Specialist here at D&H Distributing. I'm also part of our Technical Solutions program for the data center and storage category. I'll give you some contact information for that at the end of this webinar. But for now, let's just kind of give you an idea of what to expect today. We're going to be going over the enhancements and features in Intel 5th Gen Xeon scalable processors. And we're going to go over how that integrates with the AI market. I know that's a really, really overwhelming and maybe even confusing topic these days. It plays into every market that you're currently integrated with. And there's tons of opportunities for hardware and software to sell to your customers or even use in-house. So we just want to kind of give you an idea of how Intel stacks into this market, because it's not just the Xeon processors, but it's across the entire Intel technology stack. So there's a lot to go over. It scales from the cloud to on-prem to edge and to client devices. There's just so much. So hopefully this can give you a better idea of the type of solutions that you can offer to your customers. And then of course, we're always here for you to ask questions. I do also want to mention that if you are part of the Intel Partner Alliance program, we will be submitting for training credits on this, which is awesome. If you're not part of IPA, please reach out to Intel specialists at dnh.com. We'll get you signed up. We'll get you going right away. It's definitely worth it. There's a lot of incentives for that. So take advantage and just let us know how we can help. Before I turn it over, I do want to mention, feel free to ask any questions at all you have throughout the webinar. Don't worry about interrupting. I'll get Peter's attention. I'll give him a little nudge and let him know what kind of questions you have, and we'll be happy to take care of you as quickly as possible. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Peter T., the legend himself, Intel's data center and AI specialist.
Hey, Mitch, thanks so much. So great to be here. I appreciate D&H hosting this. I'm excited because we got a lot of cool technology to talk about, Mitch. But I think more importantly, I'm going to try to talk about the markets that you can sell into. And hopefully that'll stimulate some ideas for you, some conversations with your customers. That's really my ultimate goal here, is to help you in the sales cycle. Of course, I'm going to tie it back to Intel technology and the value that it brings to you. So here we go. Let's jump into it. I got a bunch of slides, but like Mitch said, bring in those questions. I want you to get everything out of this that you need. So don't hesitate on that side of things. Before I start throwing a lot of information at you, I like to kind of start with a couple poll questions. And this really just helps me kind of understand, level set the audience and where everybody is at these different topics. So I got 3 poll questions. We're going to go through those right up front. And the first one, hopefully you're seeing in a pop-up box there, is artificial intelligence market important to your business? A, not our focus. B, not yet, but we want to sell into it. C, yes, but a small part. And D, yes, and it's a growing part of our business. Take a moment, think that through, put your votes in. I do notice somebody saying they can't hear the broadcast. I don't know if that's an anomaly or if we have a bigger issue.
You may want to just try refreshing the page. That could help.
Alrighty, let's see. And I don't know if Austin is on, but I'm not seeing any answers coming through yet on the first poll question. We've got somebody saying they can hear just fine. Thumbs up, great, appreciate the feedback. That helps us here. And I think now we've got some poll results. Hold on, there we go, thank you.
Nice.
So let's take a look. Is the AI market important to your business? A little over 12%, not their focus, close to half want to get into it. And good to see the other numbers there of a small part and growing part of your business. So clearly important to 85+% of you. and hopefully we can bring around that 12.3% with some good, some good information and some markets that they can go sell into. And the second poll questions have already been filled in. Are you discussing server refresh and server consolidation? 70%, Mitch. I love seeing that. That's a great number. That's encouraging to me because AI is a great topic, but we can't forget that kind of what I call old school sales, right? You've got an install base. Those products could be coming off warranty or software is end of life. Great opportunity to stimulate the sales cycle and so forth. So I'm glad that's a solid number. And then finally, let's see how we did. Are your customers asking about Gen AI, generative AI? We'll talk about that a little bit today. And let's see what our results are on Gen AI. Maybe I passed that, or maybe they haven't come in yet. I'm not seeing any of the answers coming through yet. Are your customers asking about Gen AI? Yes, yes, but some confusion on the topic. No or no, but we plan to bring it up to start the conversation. Maybe we got a little glitch on the polling system. I'm not seeing answers on that one, but hopefully, even if they're not asking about it, you'll learn some questions today to ask to stimulate that conversation, because we certainly see that it's front and center on so many AI conversations. So appreciate those for voting in. Glad to see the focus that you have. Let's dive into the content. Alrighty. We're going to cover a bunch of things. And again, my goal is to help you in your conversations with your customers, help you to bring value to your conversations with your customers. Whenever you're having new conversations about new technology, so often that brings up a new opportunity. It may not be specifically for Intel 5th Gen or for AI, but hopefully it leads to some other conversation that's of value. So we are going to talk about 5th Gen up front. We'll talk about the AI landscape. We'll talk about some business outcomes, some opportunities. We'll talk about our value that we bring to AI. Couple use case examples, couple resources you can take advantage of, and then we'll talk about what's going to happen next. So with that, let's start with the product, the core of all this technology, which is the CPU. And we're super excited that we are now shipping the 5th Gen Intel Xeon processor in volume. And I think there's a couple key takeaways here. First and foremost, 5th Gen was announced less than a year after 4th Gen was announced. So we are back to an aggressive, I'm not going to guarantee you every year. Sometimes it might be less than a year, maybe a month or two more than a year, but we are back to a much faster cadence of refreshing server technology. That allows us to bring innovation to the market quicker. We'll talk about some examples of that. But also allows us to bring the performance and the features that customers need for today's modern workloads. And by the way, that cadence is going to continue. 4th Gen to 5th Gen, you're going to hear about 6th Gen later in this year. But 90+% of what you sell this year is going to be 4th Gen or 5th Gen. Still be a little 3rd Gen for some real price-sensitive customers. But the majority of what you'll sell, and there'll be nice overlap throughout the year. 4th Gen's not going away anytime. Just for those additional power users or AI users, you have 5th Gen. So what's the other key part about 5th Gen? That is, it's socket compatible with 4th Gen. And I think that's really important, because that means all the OEMs, all the system board manufacturers, they're not going to refresh their entire products. They're just going to say now supporting 5th Gen with a firmware update. So that's going to make it easier to go to market. That's why this became available quicker than when we first launched 4th Gen. So it's available as a component. It's available through so many different OEMs, and we're super excited about the technology. So what are we bringing forward? Remember 4th Gen, that was that real innovative product. If anybody heard me when we launched 4th Gen, January of last year, January 12th, I want to say, if memory serves me, I said that was the beginning of the future of server CPU technology. And the reason I said that is that Intel was innovating. We added all these new accelerators into it, not just about adding cores, right? If you keep adding cores, they really give you a diminishing rate of return because today's advanced software is asking so much from individual cores, encryption, decryption, scheduling, so many other common mode tasks the individual cores are being asked to do. So we offload so many of those to the 5 accelerators that we built in. Don't worry, we're not going to do 5 accelerator training today, 5 new acronyms, of course. That's a separate training. You can learn about that on Intel Partner University and earn some credits by taking those. We will lean in on one of them called AMX, Advanced Matrix Extensions, and we'll talk about the value that that brings to your customers in the artificial intelligence market. Okay, so we carry over all that cool innovation from 4th gen that our competition is not doing. They're just adding cores at a diminishing rate of return. We are making the cores more efficient. And by the way, here's your key value proposition. If you remember nothing else about 5th gen, when we make each core more efficient, in many cases, we can run that workload with less cores. Why is that important? Lower cores, in many cases, means lower software costs, less software licensing, because so much of software today is licensed by the number of cores. So now we have a TCO story and a better return on investment. So all those accelerators come over. We support faster system memory. We add a few cores. We go from 60 on the high end to 64. And then on the higher end of the product line, we almost triple the L3 cache. So bring over the innovation, add some faster features, and the results are a product that across industry standard benchmarks compared to 4th gen gets us about a 21% increase in performance. That alone is a story, right? That was, remember when Ice Lake was announced over Skylake, we had about a 22% increase in performance. In the AI space, average of 42% across all the AI benchmarks. And then on the bottom of this chart, you can see comparing 5th gen to 3rd gen, which is probably a more realistic example because that might be an install base that you have today. You see, 84% increase in performance on average industry benchmarks. And you don't see, that's not a 14, that's a 14x on the AI side, and not just inferencing, but some training performance as well. That's because that AMX accelerator brought so much additional performance to 4th gen. Now it's in 5th gen as well, dramatic increase over 3rd gen. So I keep mentioning AI for a reason, because we're going to talk more about that today. So we're excited about the performance it brings. We got a lot of questions about, okay, you've got these accelerators, but help me understand performance with and without them. So we put together this slide. It's a bit of an eye chart, but there's the baseline of a 5th gen Xeon processor without any of the accelerators being utilized. Then when we take advantage of the different accelerators, quick assist technology as an example, or in-memory analytics accelerator, and then on the far right, that AMX, we see by simply taking advantage of that accelerator, we see a 57% increase in performance, 127% increase in performance. And then in the AI space, 900% increase in performance. So this is dramatic. And this is the future of server CPUs. And we're really excited about the benefits that brings to your customers. This next chart is really more reference for you. I'm not going to go through every line on this, but we're also just helping you understand, hey, for this market, which accelerators should I be looking for? Which ones potentially could bring value to the system that I'm building out? So you can see from AI engines to high performance computing to storage engines and most things in between. We're giving you that kind of starting point of what to look for. Because remember, not every SKU has every accelerator. It's not a given that it's in there. You want to make sure that, hey, if I need that in-memory analytics accelerator, on getting the right SKU. So this gives you that starting point to break down this technology that we first introduced in 4th gen, now available in 5th gen. So we purposely asked one of the polling questions about if you're doing server refresh, server consolidation. And the story that 5th gen is bringing to this space is really, really dramatic. Here, the example we're using is 50 1st gen Xeon, servers installed base, all right? And what does it take to replace that? This is dramatic. We go from 50 to 9 to 7 to 4 to 3 servers, right? And that's not uncommon for you to have an install base that many of your customers are 1st gen. Even if it's 2nd gen or 3rd gen, there's a really strong refresh story here with the additional performance that 5th gen is bringing. And as important as the number of servers that we're consolidating to, it's the lower fleet energy, reducing CO2 emissions. These two tie into the sustainability story that so many of our customers care about today. So many upper management executives have bonuses based on being more sustainable as a company. So we've got that data for you. And then, of course, there's raw TCO savings. So I kind of call this old school selling. I kind of glad that so many of you said you were still doing this, because I was worried that the AI story had really taken over the whole narrative. But it's great to see that so many of you are still doing, classic refresh consolidation selling. So let's keep that going. By the way, on the Intel side, we have a tool to help you here, and I'll drop in the link into the Q&A a little later on. But it's the Intel Xeon Advisor tool. I know some of you are using it. I hope you all sign up for it. We'll get you the link. This tool does a variety of things for you. You can go in by workload and get more detail on which accelerator helps. So you can just go to the database section, choose from the databases that are listed, and see which ones are taking advantage of accelerators. Because we know your customers talk in the language of an application or a workload, not I need 5th gen with this accelerator. That's for us on this call to figure out. So we're giving you that tool to help you. As important, there's an ROI calculator in there. So you can plug in, my customer's got 78 of, this SKU for, maybe 3 generations back or 4 generations back. And then we map that to how many does it take of 5th gen to replace those for like performance. And then we give you the TCO savings, we give you the fleet energy savings, as long as you just simply ask the customer, customer, what are they paying per kilowatt hour for electricity? We can show the energy cost savings, we can show the reduced CO2 to support that sustainability story. So, and Mitch, thank you. I see you're trying to get that link tied in there. I appreciate that. Hopefully we can find a way to get that into the Q&A. So super excited that we're bringing more value to this consolidation space. Great story, even versus our competition, right? We're making those cores more efficient. That means in many cases we can do a better job. And this is comparing their new technology. So, this is 4th gen AMD EPYC technology compared to our 5th gen Xeon. And we see taking 50 of their new stuff. This isn't their old stuff. This is their new stuff. And we're going to 31 servers, 30, 28, 15 on the AI side. Remember, that's where we get that biggest performance increase because we're adding those accelerators that our competition is not. So great story here as well. I think this shows that we are back as a very competitive offering in the server space. And please take advantage of that tool in the Xeon Processor Advisor tool, which I see is now in the Q&A. Thank you very much, Austin. Appreciate you getting that in there. So I kind of want to wrap up the new technology with security is front and foremost for so many of our customers. Not just the AI, but it's accelerated the conversation. We are the company that's been adding hardware level security to our technology. We introduced SGX in our isolate technology, and then brought that over into 4th gen. It's in 5th gen, and now we've also introduced TDX to further have VMware isolation and protect out at the hardware level in conjunction with many of the software security tools that are out there today. So we are driving on the security side of things. And of course, we're one of the founding members of the Confidential Compute Consortium, us and Microsoft, and now it's about 28 other companies involved. All righty, I'm going to wrap up the 5th gen part. Mitch, I can't hear you, but you say we've got a question in the chat. Let's see.
Yes, I don't know if you can see that. Gentleman asked, what is driving the utilization of accelerators? Is this a developer coding requirement? Is the processor enlisting accelerators via code inspection, prefetch, analysis, etc.? Or what? Is Intel creating customized large language models, or is it offering libraries to developers? I think one API and OpenVINO are going to play a large part in this, especially on the development side of things, or is playing a large part in this. So I'll let you touch on that a little bit more. But that's a really good question because there's a lot to take in there.
Yeah, Mitch, thanks for bringing that one forward. I see Kevin asked that question. This is a great question, and the answer to your question is yes, yes, and yes. We're really excited about this, and I think this is a surprise to a lot of people. We have nearly 15,000 software developers at Intel. I think we're viewed as this hardware company, but we have to have all these software developers because we can build a feature, AMX as an example, or any of the other 4 accelerators. And if the software doesn't see it, if it's not tuned, scaled, and optimized to see that feature, that's just a hardware feature that's going to waste, right? So absolutely, there's coding involved here. So we work with the corporate ISVs, the Microsofts, the VMwares of the world. You may have seen recently VMware launched with support for AMX. You'll see some neat things coming out from Microsoft over the summer. But we also work with the open source community. And we love the open source community because they move quickly. Not picking on the big corporate ISVs, they're important, but that open source community embraces new features. We work with them to tune, scale, and optimize. We give them the libraries and the toolkits to do that so that they can, fine tune their code to take advantage of what we're doing. So yeah, there's some work involved there, and we have a huge focus and investment on the software side and making sure that happens. And you're going to see some great examples of that when I show you the artificial intelligence ecosystem that Intel brings to this market. It's got more choice than anybody else. It's open source, as well as the corporate ISVs. And it's a great question because without the software, it's just a hardware feature. So Kevin, I hope that helps you out. If you need more clarification, let me know. So I want to close out on kind of the processor, the CPU side before we go over to the AI side. We're back to a regular cadence, 3rd gen, 4th gen, 5th gen. Big surprise, Mitch, what's coming next? 6th gen. I know it's a big surprise for you there. But here is the surprise with 6th gen, which you will hear about, and you'll see some product later this year. But again, it's going to be a smaller part of your sales. It's later in the year. It's more to prep us for 2025. But we're going to split the product line into 2 products. We've always made what we call P cores, performance cores. It's always been about performance. Well, in today's world, edge compute, data centers that can't get any more energy to them, we're now driving a line of what we call E-core processors as well, so energy efficient. So you'll have a choice, and you can mix and match these, right, to design out what's best for the compute needs of the customer. So with 6th gen, you're going to see this split out of continue the performance cores, and by the way, nice increase in cores now that we've made them efficient, right? And then you're going to see these E-cores. The other thing we're doing is we are jumping over, many of you have heard us use the term shrink. That's basically the size that we manufacture these products on, nanometers. We get down to single count nanometers. for transistors, and that's how we could put a billion transistors, 5 billion transistors in the size of a quarter. We are going to jump over 4 nanometer and go to 3 nanometer. So you're going to see some really cool stuff with 6 Gen. But again, this year, 3, 4, and 5 is what you'll be selling most of. All right, let's shift this conversation to AI. We got to talk about artificial intelligence. There's a lot of challenges with it, and I think at Intel we're helping to eliminate a lot of these challenges. We have challenges with GPU availability. Okay, we have a competitor that makes great GPUs, by the way. I applaud them for the business that they've built, but they are challenging to get. We'll also talk about the vendor lock-in that brings. You know, those products require custom coding, and that's very expensive. We're going to talk about our answer to that. That comes down to cost. That's part of it. That adds cost to deploying AI. And then, of course, secure AI. I showed you some examples of the hardware features. We will have, and have already started, announcements with the software community to deliver more secure AI development platforms, because that's front of mind for so many of our customers. So let's talk about each of these areas. And really, my other goal here is also to help you understand where you can sell into in these markets. Okay, so I'm not just going to give you speeds and feeds of our product. AI compute does not happen in one place. As a matter of fact, it's rapidly getting split up, and it's clients, servers, desktops, laptops, your cell phone, right? It's happening across all of these. So you're not just selling into one market. On the server AI side, we break this into 3 sales opportunities: data, model, and deploy. On the data side, which, by the way, we view as the most overlooked part of this market. So on the data side, you've got data scientists, data analysts, database administrators, maybe somebody in line of business, maybe somebody in IT, depending on the size of the customer, that is prepping the data, cleansing the data, organizing the data so it can be ingested into a training model. These folks are doing work that take days, weeks, sometimes months. We've seen 3, 4 months of investment in the data prep for very large AI solutions, right? If you don't put good data in, you're not getting good data out of your AI model. These folks need high performance client compute, right? High performance client compute. We'll jump to that slide in a second. So they're typically buying Xeon-based workstations today. Smaller companies may be buying a high-end desktop or high-end laptop to do this work. They need a lot of memory. They need great performance, a lot of storage. This is a higher average selling price for you, a higher margin sale for you than all the regular employees that are, getting a laptop for their day job. So super opportunity to sell into. Down the middle, we have model. Typically, the term we hear is training. We hear, machine learning, deep learning, large language models, all these trainings. So this is where you've ingested the data, and now you're training the AI system to analyze what you want it to analyze, give you the answers based on the information that you've fed it, and constantly fine-tuning these models. Here we typically see a dedicated server or a cluster of servers. 2 years ago, 18 months, so many of these also had a GPU or 2 or 3 or 4 in the system. What we are seeing is a couple things. GPU or not, Xeon is the cornerstone of this market. Matter of fact, even NVIDIA, right, our biggest competitor in the GPU space, and I applaud them for the products they make, when they sell a complete system, right, not just a card, but when they sell a complete server, they've chosen Intel Xeon as the base for those servers, not our competitor, because they see the value we're bringing. So Xeon's the base of this market as well. And now what we're doing, and this is the new news since 4th Gen came out a little over a year ago, is with that accelerator, we can do more natively on the CPU. So now we're doing small and mid-sized machine learning applications and development on the CPU. When we do that, we eliminate the need for that GPU card, that $3,000, $5,000, $11,000 card that you then have to do proprietary coding on if it's our competition. Then it takes a lot of power to run it. Those cards are drawing more power than the CPU, not to mention having to mitigate the thermals. So we can eliminate 1, 2, 4 cards in these servers, and we have now dramatically lowered the cost. We call this the democratization of AI. When we lower the cost of AI, that means it goes from enterprise to mid-tier to SMB market. And we open up that total available market for you to sell into. Cost comes down, more people can afford it, more opportunity for everybody on this call. All right, time and a place for GPU, by the way, totally get it. We have some GPU products. You're going to start hearing more about those this year. We'll touch on them a little bit later on, but that'll really be a separate training. On the far right, we've got deploy. A lot of times the term used here is inferencing. So you've cleansed the data, you prepped the data, you've put it into the training model, you've fine-tuned it, you've got it delivering you the information, the answers that you want based on the design of that AI platform. Now you want to get it deployed out to the employees, the partners, the customers that you want to have access to that information so they can make a better decision as it relates to your companies that you're selling to. Today already 70% of inferencing worldwide is happening on an Intel Xeon CPU. So what we're really seeing is, and I went backwards, my apologies. What we're really seeing is Xeon is already the trusted cornerstone of the AI market space, okay? We're starting to pick up in the middle by doing more on the CPU, time and a place for GPU, we totally get that. We're getting into that business. We've talked about that. We'll cover that in a little more detail in a moment. And again, just some data points on what we're selling into and, outperforming some NVIDIA A100 GPUs for some classic machine learning. Again, lowering the cost of that system for your customers. And then we are the cornerstone that should now reach 70% actually of inferencing happening on our products. So hopefully that gave you an idea of the 3 different markets. This slide is really for reference for you. This is to see what are the job titles that you want to go talk to that are in each of these different areas and what is important to them, because they each have different criticalities that they're looking for, and that could influence the hardware and the software features that you bring forward to them. So that's really more for your reference. Now I want to go back to software. Kevin asked that question about the accelerators and the software industry taking advantage of them. And this is specifically about AMX, the AMX accelerator, which is what I call AI on steroids. We are super proud of the software choice that your customers have. And this is open, mostly open source. Of course, we've got VMware's and Oracle's and Microsoft's and a lot of products on that side as well. But so much of the frameworks, the development kits, and the programming models are open source. And we have worked with all of them to tune, scale, and optimize to see these features. That combination of the feature and the optimization gets you that 10x performance gains when you take advantage of AMX. This is dramatic. This is a shift in the market. The other key here is choice. Your customer may have an expertise in Spark. Let's not force them into TensorFlow, right? Let them build on technology they already have. All this is wrapped around something that we call one API that Mitch mentioned earlier. One API is the idea of develop once and then run it anywhere, versus our competition that makes you do proprietary coding and you can't move that. That no longer becomes portable. You're now locked into a proprietary development model. So we give you choice, we give you openness, and we give you portability. Largest breadth of software ecosystem in the artificial intelligence market brought forward by us. What about an example? Netflix. I think we've all heard of Netflix. I know I give them what seems like more money every month. Um, this is actually more of a software story with Netflix than hardware. They were already developing things like their recommendation engines and some of their other AI features on our Xeon CPUs. But we had a competitive situation, and we went in there, we realized that their software wasn't being tune scaled and optimized to see our newer features. So every time we brought in a new version or a new feature, we got dramatic increases in performance, and we were able to keep them on our platform for AI. So it's not just about the raw horsepower of the hardware. It's got to be in conjunction with the software, and it's not just the open source. In the right, system customer examples, we can help directly with the customer and their in-house coding, so to speak. This just kind of gives you an idea of, hey, maybe you have a strength in, automotive or the healthcare industry, or retail. You can see these are kind of the bigger AI solutions that are being embraced first for each market. So this just helps you drill down and understand what each market is doing. So hopefully that's more of a resource slide for you to help you out. So all of this together, innovation on the CPU, software ecosystem, open source software ecosystem, tuning, scaling, and optimizing really has shifted the way we got to think about AI. This idea that AI equals GPU or AI equals NVIDIA. And hey, I applaud them for the products, I get it. But we're enabling more and more of this to happen natively on the CPU, and especially in smaller and mid-sized models. So not just 65, 70% of the inferencing, now we're picking up some of that machine learning as well. Time and place for GPU, we get it. The other thing you need to think about when a customer says, well, I need a GPU, we've sat down with so many customers and we said, look, based on what you're developing, that GPU, that expensive GPU, we talked about the cost earlier, okay, that allowed you to do this development in 4 days instead of 5. Was it worth the extra cost for 1 day faster? Sometimes that's important. In a lot of cases, they're like, no, we'd be fine with 4 days and we didn't need to include all that additional hardware. So these are other things to think about as well. All right, that's kind of the Intel value proposition. Starts with hardware features supported by the software community, bringing value, opening up that total available market for you. We can't talk about AI, though, without talking about Gen AI, generative AI, right? While we see this only being 10% of sales in the AI space, I think it's that conversation starter. It's a starting point to talk about AI with your customers, even if it doesn't end up being a Gen AI opportunity. But what are we talking about here? What's so different? Well, a lot of times we hear things like Chat GPT. I think it's on this slide somewhere. Chat GPT. So this is a AI environment using a large language model that's doing what we call generative pre-trained transformers. That's the GPT part of this. And that's what it's utilizing. So instead of just feeding an AI server with the exact data and information that then allows it to make some kind of decision, we now have a system that can actually create something from the ground up. That's the generative part. That's what makes this different from traditional AI. Under a few basic commands, you get something generated. The more commands, the more specific. So it's building something, be it text, that's what we think of most on ChatGPT. It could be artwork. It could be software coding. It could be so many different things. So why not just use ChatGPT? ChatGPT is very expensive. About $5 million to stand up, about $3 million a month to keep running and add features. ChatGPT is, well, it's not secure. It's public. If you go up there with a company's intellectual property, you are sharing that in the tool, and the tool is actually learning from you. It may use that to answer somebody else's question, right? Not secure. So what we're seeing is customers are going to bring in not that $5 million stand up. Very few customers can afford that. But they'll bring in a dedicated server or two for a department of the company. HR has been the first to embrace this. Bring in just for HR inside the firewall a tool that helps HR manage through all the things that HR does. Same thing for the marketing department. Have all of the company's marketing campaigns, brand campaigns in one place, and that allows you to keep that commonality across your brand. We know how important that is when you're building a brand. So bring in small versions of this that are departmental, right? The analogy I like to use is, I like simple analogies, Mitch. Let's say you're searching, you're looking for a holiday photo of your family. You don't need to search a public space that has all your neighbors' photos. You just need your own photos in there. And then you can search it, find the photo you're looking for. So ChatGPT is everybody's photos. Bring it in-house, departmentalize it. Now you've just got the information that's important to your business, okay? And what are we seeing coming out of that? Of course, content generation. I think that's kind of the first thing we saw. Creative arts, though, not just fun pictures, but that could be used for branding and for advertising. Language translation hasn't been that new, but it's getting utilized so much more everywhere and so more accurately. Chatbots are one of the quickest things to spin up. That's what HR is using them for, to answer your in-house HR questions quicker. Data augmentation and text summarization. I love the text summarization one. Anybody's doing team calls, if you've got the latest version of Teams, you can now at the end tell it to basically generate a text summarization of the entire conversation that took place. And then you can, clean that up a little bit, and you've got a nice synopsis of what that meeting was all about. Share it with somebody that wasn't on the call, or utilize it for actions and things to do next. So super exciting space. I hope this helps you start the conversation about generative AI with your customers.
Hey, Peter, we have a question in the chat here.
Sure.
This customer is asking, will there be new hardware designs from Intel, so vendors or Intel itself, to build AI compute intensive modules that an SMB can use as AI building blocks to create cost-effective AI systems rather than putting CPUs in ISA boxes?
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say about that question. I have a slide on this, and I know Kevin has not seen my slides, so thank you for being the straight man. I appreciate that. I will answer that in a slide, in 3 slides. So we will definitely get to that. Perfect. So this is like super high level, but I just kind of want to reinforce what we're doing here, that value proposition that Intel is bringing to the artificial intelligence market. The box at the bottom, the red box, that is what we can run on the Xeon processors, right? Be it the data side, be it the training side, or be it the inferencing side. We are already the cornerstone of each of those 3 markets, right? Matter of fact, that Gen AI story we just had, if your customer is building out up to 20 billion parameters in their Gen AI system, that can be built out natively on an Intel 4th or 5th gen CPU. We don't need a GPU for that. As you go over 20 billion, you need a GPU, right? We have some GPUs. You'll hear more about that. We're starting to make them more available. It's kind of a walk before we run, but we've got a very interesting open, open source approach to our GPUs. You'll hear more about that over the next few quarters. Now, I'm only going to do 1 slide on client. We can't talk about AI without touching on client. I was very clear when I first showed you those 3 markets, the data, the training and the deploy, the data, the model, and the deploy. That was a server-based AI solution. We've got to mention the client side, because I did say that AI compute, especially the inferencing, will take place in many places, in the cloud, on the edge, in a data center, on the client, on a laptop, on the phone, whatever it may be. Now, by the way, you've been doing AI on your clients for a while. If you've had a mid-range or upper or high-end Intel desktop or laptop for the last 2 years, You've been doing AI and you don't even know it. You've gotten better blurred backgrounds, better noise cancellation. This is not new to us. We've been doing this for 2 years. Now we just introduced a laptop CPU with a built-in GPU and a built-in NPU, neural processor unit. And I think what's most interesting about this is that the way it's designed, it sees the software requests coming in and it says, hey, you would be most efficient on the GPU. This part is most efficient on the NPU. So we're giving you a higher performing, fully AI capable laptop with better battery life and better performance while getting these features. Why do I care about these features? Well, the client side's a little different. Most of the client side AI is going to already be developed into productivity tools that you're using today. You know, Teams and Zoom with the blurred backgrounds and better noise cancellation. Adobe has over 30 AI features in their suite today. Some of them are rather mundane, some of them are more powerful. They will now start taking advantage of this additional performance that we're putting into the laptop space. And yes, there's even a development. There are development tools here as well, where customers can custom develop when they have in-house software and they want to get AI features out of it as well. So we'll execute AI code here as well. So super excited about the client side. That's a whole nother training. These will really are starting to ship now into the commercial market space. All right. Had to do a slide on client. That's pretty exciting stuff. Actually, this is kind of a cool example of Intel Core being used by Samsung in the medical imaging industry. So they were able to take advantage of the built-in GPU and NPU to give better performance here for their ultrasound imaging system, taking it to the next level. So not just productivity tools, but we're also going to see some unique AI solutions built out by our partners. Another wholesale opportunity for you today. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's answer Kevin's question. So, you know, you can be sitting back going, that's nice, Peter and Mitch, you're telling me about AI. It's a giant market. You know, yeah, I've learned, I get what Intel's doing, I get the value proposition, that's cool. See how I'm leading the witness? I'm telling you it's cool what we're doing. We're doing a lot with software, but what do I do? I want to go sell something today. And we have to understand, you know, if you're selling a database engine to your customers, you've probably got seven or eight databases or 95% of the market. It's a lot easier to determine what's right for them. Totally get that the AI market is confusing. So we've started to build out these AI reference kits, and these are free. I want you to think of these as blueprints. They're not going to give you all the answers, but it's a starting point where you could take, for customer care, a purchase prediction blueprint, and then fine tune that for the uniqueness of your customer. Maybe you want to stick together multiples of these. Maybe you want AI synthetic data structuring as part of it to help make that purchase prediction even stronger. You can bolt these together. These are free. They're up on intel.com. They're up on GitHub. They're not the complete answer because very few things are complete answers in the AI space, but there's a starting point for many different areas that are important to our customers. And we will add more of these over time. Stay tuned. You'll start seeing a group of these just for the Gen AI space, which is such a cool topic in its own right. So, Kevin and everybody else, I hope that helps you take a step forward. Mitch knows I can't talk about any of this technology without mentioning Intel Ethernet. Why am I mentioning Intel Ethernet? Well, a couple of reasons. One is, just like any other workload, it's about balanced system performance. It's not just about a high performance, high quality, Xeon CPU and fast memory and fast I/O. We've got to have fast NIC cards that are keeping up with it. Potentially, your customers are leaving performance on the table if they're stuck in the 1 gigabit, 10 gigabit space. We've got to get them to 25 and 100 and to take full advantage of the Xeon CPU performance that they are getting. Okay, this is ultra important in the AI space. One, because the performance is so demanding on the I/O, and also we see a lot of expensive InfiniBand in the AI space for bigger clusters. What we're finding with our latest generation Intel Ethernet cards in the AI space, we can get you 95% of the of InfiniBand performance at less than half the price. So it's another example through the NIC card of lowering the cost of AI for you and for your customers. So Intel Ethernet, I think we got one of the best warranties in the industry. These things are bulletproof. We rarely hear issues with our cards. So make sure you're matching it with Intel Ethernet. That's my sales pitch there. All right. I'm going to wrap it up on that. I'm going to first start by really thanking everybody for your time. I know how busy you are. I hope we gave you, if nothing else, some new stories to go back to your customer with. Have those conversations. So many times those lead to new opportunities. You've got 5th gen you can talk about. You've still got 4th gen and 3rd gen for more price sensitive customers. Now you've got AI, you've got Gen AI. You understand the value proposition we're bringing to democratize artificial intelligence, open up that total available market, give you more customers that you can sell into. And we're basing that on open standards and choice, okay? So I hope there was value in that. I hope you've got some new markets you're excited about. We also gave you some data and tools for server consolidation, server refresh. I mean, look, think about Windows Server 12, just end of life last fall. Still a huge install base. We've got to migrate those customers. And that typically draws new hardware along with it. All right, I'm going to stop rambling on. Mitch, do we have any other questions?
We do not, but Peter, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate your time and going through all that information. I understand it's a lot to take in. So, I would definitely encourage everyone to reach out. We have resources at D&H. We can schedule trainings, meetings with Peter. Anytime that fits his schedule, we'd be happy to pair up. So let us know what kind of questions you have. It was interesting to see there's a lot of love for the AI PCs on the Core Ultra stuff. So, I mean, that was kind of cool, but it was also really excited to see the love for one API. I'm a big open source advocate, so I love what Intel's doing, has always been doing in that world, and they're going to continue doing that. Like he said, they have thousands of engineers just constantly committing code, and you see it everywhere, and it's just awesome. And there's no licensing fees or any strange stuff like that you run into with a lot of proprietary stuff and NVIDIA solutions and all that fun stuff. So let us know. Reach out. We have our tech solutions team. That's what I'm part of. I manage the data center and storage category. We have access to obviously anything Intel based, that's Supermicro, Lenovo, HP, Cisco. So we're happy to configure the right solution for you. We're not going to push you into anything you don't need to be in. We can configure these systems for you as the questions start coming in from your clients. Work with us. Let us know. We can be reached at technicalsolutions@dnh.com. You can also reach the Intel team at intelspecialists@dnh.com for anything specifically relating to Intel technology, hardware, pricing, anything like that. So let us know. And I do want to remind you again, I know some people had some issues with audio at the beginning and might have missed the note about Intel Partner Alliance. If you are part of that program, we are submitting credits, so you do get credit for attending this training today. Also, if you attended and were live for the whole training, you'll get a $15 Amazon gift card, so keep an eye out in your email for more details to follow. And we're doing a drawing. One person will win a $100 Amazon gift card, so keep an eye out for that as well. So a chance to take something extra here along with all this valuable information, obviously. And one other thing I want to point out real quick is, if you're just getting up to speed on a lot of this, I know we were talking about One API, OpenVINO, all that fun stuff, all these development tools, things that just make, integration with all of these tools easier, whether you're working with PyTorch, whatever. If you want to learn more about that, Intel has competencies in the Intel Partner University website. So if you have questions about that, reach out. If you need access, let us know. The owner of your account can give you access if that's not you. So it's pretty easy to get that up and running. But yeah, we're excited to work with you. Let us know. I don't want to dive too much into the GPU side, but on the Supermicro side, we can already configure pre-validated systems with Intel Flex GPUs in it. So we'd be happy to build you out something on that, talk about it. however you want to attack that if you're getting questions about it. But it's really good. It's not locked behind licensing fees. I think Intel made a huge win there. So it's a good way to pair up Xeon with Flex GPUs and have a good solution for VDI, AI, whatever you're looking at getting into. So thank you so much. Again, tech solutions at dnh.com, Intel specialist at dnh.com. I'm Mitch Flickinger. That was Peter T. So happy to have you here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I know you're all busy, so it's awesome for you to take time out of your day to be here. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Look forward to working with all of you.